This is why you died.
Welcome, one and all, to This Is Why You Died, a horror film podcast where we dissect and dismember movies, young and old, and discuss their quivering entrails for your entertainment. I am Sir Ian Dangerous, and I am joined on my proverbial left by the luminous Ryan Ross live, and on my proverbial right by the luscious Dan Marcha Madness. Good evening, gentlemen. How are you doing tonight?
Good evening. What an intro. That was good.
I was going to say the intro's getting more fancier every episode. My goodness.
It's going to get spicier every time. Every time. So, Ryan, recently we reviewed the very first Scream film on this show, and I understand that after seeing it for the very first time, being a horror newbie, you have recently done a live stream celebrating Ghostface's appearance in MK1. Is that true?
That's correct. So my day job, for those who don't know, is I work as a manager of live streaming for WB Games. And obviously Mortal Kombat 1 and NetherRealm Studios are a big part of WB Games. And Ghostface recently made his premiere in Mortal Kombat. And so I got to help with the broadcast and the live stream debuting his arrival in the game. And we chose the title Don't Hang Up based off of I was looking through all the quotes from literally our review and was like, what are the best moments from this? We had Don't Hang Up, and the byline was, do you like scary movies, as the first part of the bio. So it was a good time.
That's perfect, considering that one of our big beefs about Scream was, why don't you just hang up?
Exactly.
Just hang up on his ass. Or their ass.
Well, and it's cool because they actually leaned into the multiple ghost faces. There's 3 of them, and the main ghost face is the original Ghostface from the movie that we watched. But the other 2 are kind of tertiary Mortal Kombat characters that were recruited to be the other Ghostfaces, and they've got like little subtle nods at old character kits of theirs. It's a really cool take.
Wow,
that's fun.
I recommend.
I love all of the movie characters they've brought into Mortal Kombat have been really lovingly done as from what I've seen so far. So I'm looking forward to checking that out.
They've had some gruesome ones.
Can you share a finishing move that that Ghostface has?
Yeah, so they've got, part of this, I highly recommend watching the trailer if you haven't, but it starts with he slices the throat of the camera and you fall backwards from him. But some of his other moves, he can crawl, he can do like a big horse stab, he can run at you, all sorts of fun stuff. His finishers are, he has one that he slices through the hand and splits it down the middle, which I don't know which film that's from. His and he triggers it by one pops up behind him, one pops up behind you. The one stabs you from behind, and then the other one runs at you with a frying pan, which I've heard is like Scream 5. I don't know which Scream. There's a frying pan involved, but so there's a bunch of references. I think his most iconic moment is his fatality. If you trigger it, he starts stabbing on screen. It zooms out through the TV, and you've got Johnny Cage playing and being like, this is bullshit. He's just a guy with a knife.
Is it Johnny Cage or just like a random person that's supposed to be the player?
Well, it's Johnny Cage as the player.
I got you. Okay.
That's fine.
They use the Johnny Cage model.
Correct. And so then Ghostface comes up behind him in the house while he's playing and murders him and sprays him across the screen. And so you have the fatality. Ghostface wins on screen. Covered in blood.
Meta fatality.
Exactly.
Naturally. That's amazing. Well, I'm looking forward to playing that.
He even uses the old block phone. He calls the other ghost faces with the block phone. It does a ring, and he's got the voice changer. It's
hilarious. That's great.
That's awesome. Well, nice. How appropriate. What good timing that should come out now.
Right? Very apropos.
Now that you've just seen it for the first time, and you can really extra appreciate it. Well, speaking of watching things for the first time, what we do here on this show is every round, there's a round of 3. We do a round where we all draw prompts, and then we each choose movies based on those prompts. And then, like the sick, twisted weirdos that we are, we make each other all watch those movies that we selected, and then we come back here and talk about them. Obviously, so far, we've done Scream. Dan, you picked Black and White.
Yes.
And so we did Scream as a result. Ryan, you picked Bugs, and so we did Silence of the Lambs. And I had to do 976 Evil because I picked Robert Englund.
Mm-hmm.
So we've had some interesting picks so far, but now it's round 2.
Round two.
And
sequel.
Dan,
Yes.
it's your turn for this very first movie of round 2. Would you like to tell everyone at home who doesn't know yet,
Yes.
what did you pick?
Well, I'll build up. I'll tell the story of how we got there, I guess. I chose the prompt of Locked. So that there's many ways you could go in horror. The one that immediately came to mind was probably something from the world of Saw. So I was leaning like maybe I should go Saw. That's very big, general. I doubt Ryan has dipped his toe into Saw.
I think it's a guarantee he has not.
Yeah, so
I have not. Although Saw's in Dead by Daylight. They've got the pig in Dead by Daylight. I know a little.
Okay, so but I thought that was
Fortnite,
that was a little too easy to jump into another genre like I did with Scream. So then I immediately thought of Handcuffs and I thought of Gerald's Game because I am a huge Mike Flanagan fan. So the one I chose for Locked is Gerald's Game, and we can go into why the word Locked and Gerald's Game are even related, I guess, and right now.
I don't think it's a question. I mean, the movie is pretty straightforward. As we probably should always do going forward, we haven't really done it as a tradition yet, but I think that we have to say very clearly, spoilers ahead. We are assuming that you have seen Gerald's Game from this point onwards. So we're going to start discussing the movie in its entirety, including the twists and the turns and the weird stuff that happens and the gory stuff that happens. So if you haven't seen Gerald's Game, press pause and then come back to this very point because we're going to talk about Gerald's Game and the fact that the movie is about a woman who's been handcuffed to the bed during a sex game gone awry with her husband out in a cabin in the middle of nowhere. And then she's end up with a dead husband on the floor because he's had a heart attack. And she's locked to the bed, and then she has to figure out what she's going to do from there on. And it is based on a Stephen King book from 1992 and was considered unadaptable pretty much from the get-go. I mean, the movie did a great job of adapting it, but my God, Mike Flanagan it took, 92 to 2017? It took forever to figure out how to make this book that is all pretty much internal in this woman's head as she slowly goes insane, strapped to this bed, how to make this filmable. So the first thing I want to do, Dan, is you pick this movie. Had you seen this before?
I had seen this before. I saw it once because I was very excited. I'm a huge fan of Oculus, one of Mike Flanagan's, like, not his first film, but it was the film that kind of put him on the map. And then when I saw him get the deals with Netflix where he was going to start making movies for Netflix, this was kind of one of the first ones. And I was hearing a lot of buzz, excitement about it in the horror community because it was Gerald's Game, which is a book that, like you said, when you get the opportunity to adapt Stephen King, it's not a choice that you would go for at all. And so I think everybody was super surprised that they're like, this guy he's getting a chance to adapt Stephen King, and he's coming out of the gate in a book that everybody says you cannot put on the screen. So
well, what's crazy is, in addition to that, is that it not only is like the unadaptable Stephen King work, most of Stephen King's other work has been done.
Yeah, it's true.
So he's kind of limited. And it's funny because right now I know he's trying to get The Dark Tower done right as a miniseries, as opposed to the garbage movies they tried to do. So I'm very curious to see him do that. But yeah, Stephen King has mostly been adapted. So for him to come out of the gate and be like, oh, the Stephen King book I want to do is the unadaptable one.
Yeah. I think he had to do that. It's almost like he had to do it to make, to make his mark and to prove that he could do it. And I mean, he absolutely did. He's up there with Frank Darabont, who has adapted some of Stephen King's best work too. So, I think that this movie helped kind of start laying the foundation for what is now known as like the Flanaverse or the Flanaganverse or whatever it's known as. But his, you see characters that have now been in his like really popular mainstream works, actors that are in it, kind of carry this movie. But yeah, I had seen it once before and I had heard that it was unadaptable. And I had also heard that the finale, the gory scene, would be difficult to watch. And so I was excited to watch it, and then watching it again for a second time, it was, I think I texted you guys. I was like, I had never, and I mean, we can, if we're cussing or not cussing, we can bleep this out, but I had never said
We're officially an explicit show on Spotify, so you can fucking swear as much as you want.
So I had how long is that scene? Maybe 2 minutes, 3 minutes for the constant stream. It was just me cowering behind my hands, just saying fuck shit, fuck shit, fuck shit, just the entire time, just watching that gloving scene is what they call it. And so like it hit me hard again. It was still extremely squirmy to watch, but I had a great time watching it a second time.
And Ryan, this is obviously you've never seen this before.
No, now I have.
And now wait, hold on. Have you ever seen a Stephen King movie before? And I don't mean like Shawshank Redemption or Green Mile, but like one of his horror movies, like Cujo, Carrie, Christine, any of that kind of stuff.
I haven't seen any of the actual horror movies. I know of them, of course, and I know a lot of the references and like at least like material of most, but I don't think I've ever actually watched one. I think the closest I've seen scenes of Carrie, but I don't think I've ever actually watched one all the way through. So this would be my first. I had honestly, like, we'll get into analysis later. As far as at least to Dan's point of that scene, I made the mistake of my girlfriend Sasha and I watched this movie together, and we ordered Thai food, and we were eating the Thai food while we watched the movie. And look, I had finished by the point of that scene, but it was still fresh in my system. And my body was unhappy with that. Like I had to, I similarly was doing the fingers and the eyes, and but my whole body, like literally, I had to pause it. I had to get up. I had to drink water because my whole body was doing that like like thing. Like I was like, I need water. I'm overheating. Give me like 30 seconds to reset myself.
It's telling because Dan is a seasoned horror man. I am a seasoned horror man, and I never watched Gerald's Game. This was the first time that I watched it.
Really? Okay.
It is kind of famous for that scene. The book is famous for it. The movie's famous for it. There's obviously a lot of other great things about the movie that we will talk about, but it's impossible to talk about Gerald's Game without talking about the scene.
The scene,
yeah.
Right? And that was the reason that I had never watched it, was because I read the book.
Really?
Back when it came out. And I knew that scene was in there, and I was like, and I am a seasoned horror head. I have seen some of the most insane gore possible. I just got out of Terrifier 3 and had a great time. But
I'm surprised that didn't draw you to it based off of what I know about.
But here's the thing: just because I watch a lot of horror movies doesn't mean I'm sitting here going, you know what I can't do? I can't wait to watch a woman turn her hand skin inside out. That's what I can't wait to do. How's she going to get out of these handcuffs? I know. Cut a line along her wrist and up her palm, and then pull her hand through handcuffs.
So deep.
So much so that the skin turns backwards over her knuckles. Both of them are. Y'all who are listening to this, you can't see, but both of them are squirming in their seats right now, even reliving this scene.
So
it's so intense. And Flanagan doesn't linger on it, but it's such a well done prosthetic and practical effect that there's a reason I didn't want to watch this movie, because I knew it was going to hurt.
Yeah,
and that's her line. This is going to hurt. She says to herself. Yeah. And,
honestly, I think they linger a little bit on the original incision. They definitely linger on the original incision. Luckily they don't linger on the actual like pull too much. But God, that original incision, you're like, just get on with it.
Yeah.
You're like,
hurry,
that Monty Python scene, like, get on with it.
Before we jump back too much, I gotta say, because I don't remember it hitting.
I'm sweating.
I don't remember it hitting me this hard the first time I saw it, but when they effectively use the flashback to say you had the answer the whole time, and the cut happens on her hand, did it hit you there yet that you knew that she was going to have to start cutting herself? Or when because the second time it hit me again, I was like, oh my gosh, that is such a great use of like a flashback and a realization of like, this is how I'm going to get out of this situation.
Ryan, when did you realize that she was going to cut her hand off?
About the minute that she I'll admit, this is the longest gap since I've watched it. I watched this last week compared to most of them I've watched very recently to when we record. But like, I would say they do that flashback thing multiple times, right? Like the first time it's with her remembering the water so that she can get the straw. I do like the way that they call it kind of always like led to her logical conclusions, but it wasn't about until they're like, you have the answer the whole time. She looks up at the cup and you see them focus on the edge of the shelf. I was like, oh God, I know where this is going. Oh, great.
All right, so we're talking about probably the most like obvious big moment in the movie, which of course is the degloving scene. It's the big coup de grace, the thing that everyone wants to talk about. But let's talk about the rest of the movie, because it is a very impressive movie overall. That's of course just the money shot, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
But the rest of the movie is extremely impressive, and largely, I think, and guys, tell me your opinion as well, I think this movie lives and dies on Carla Gugino.
Oh, hell yes.
Who plays the woman.
Completely agree.
Oh, absolutely.
Like,
she kills it.
All the love to Bruce Greenwood. He's a fantastic actor. I loved him in Star Trek, iRobot, is JFK. Fine. He's great here. And he plays a very different version of the character than was in the book. A little bit more sympathetic. And he's in it a lot longer. He's actually one of the voices in her head. In the book, the voices are very different. There are multiple versions of her. They're her as a young child. They're her as
interesting.
They're her as a projection of herself as like a perfect wife, like a very religious, upright wife. It's her like her college roommate that she broke, like she stopped being friends with because she got too close to figuring out how she'd been abused as a child. Her psychologist was also one of the voices.
Wow.
But in the movie, they pare it down. This is smart of Flanagan. He pares it down to just her voice being her rational voice, her on the bed being in the moment, and then her husband, her dead husband, being a voice. And Bruce Greenwood is great in that role. But Carla Gugino in two roles in this, as herself on the bed and as her more logical voice by the bed. This is her movie. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, boys. I mean, she was shunned for an Academy Award for this. It's incredible.
I was watching, blown away again by that when I was watching it a second time, and just the delivery of her confidence as the voice in her head mixed with the reality of her dread, like seeing that juxtaposition so quick. You're like, wow, she really did play these two characters so perfectly, like just this like hopeless, scared woman, tied to this bed, mixed with the voice in her head that's like this free, confident, like facing, understanding reality. And like, you need to understand this. You need to face your demons, because it's the only way that you're going to find a way out of this situation. And it's really cool that she's able to play both those roles and then really cover the big main themes of, I think, what this movie is really talking about, Which actually, I'm going to throw that to Mike Flanagan's writing as well, because to have the three voices, have her current voice, her current position, her logical other self talking to her, and then have her husband talking to her. But her husband doesn't say anything that she doesn't already know. He talks to her in a voice that sounds like a projection of what she thinks her husband would say. And that's what made it particularly brilliant to me, was the writing of what he's saying sounds like it would be her voice coming through her husband.
Well, honestly, even on top of that, I think, to your point, paring down the cast almost improves the movie based off of what you're saying, in the sense that, like, I didn't realize that they had a wider cast in the book. I haven't read the book, but it creates this really intimate feel to the movie of like, it's her survival instinct, her like rational brain trying to keep her alive, and almost her husband, for me, like embodied her self-doubt, like her issues with her confidence, her issues with her relationship. Like, he basically became an embodiment of all of her insecurities, whereas her projection of herself is the self-assured, like, hey, we're going to get through this. We're going to do it. And the husband's making the wisecracks that are undercutting her at every corner, making her feel like, can you really do this? Are you sure? You're kind of going crazy. Like, it's that self-doubt embodied through her husband almost as like a mouthpiece. But having those two voices be the two projections really creates this like, will she, won't she survival dynamic that I think really drives the movie and keeps it insular. I think that if you were to add a bunch of other characters, it'd be very easy to get lost in the sauce. And like, we have the flashback sequences and we have a little bit of other characters here and there that come in, but the focus is always like, yes, you're processing all this trauma because you may be about to die, but the focus is, are you going to make it? Can you survive? Do you have what it takes? And you have the one parrot on the shoulder going, yes, you can. And you have the other one saying, I don't really know if you can.
And that's the thing. Paring it down to like almost the devil on the shoulder and the angel on the shoulder was a really smart idea. Just two voices as opposed to multiple, like a bunch of different voices, was a really smart idea. It cuts down on some of the chaos that's in the book, which is great for storytelling purposes, like making it feel like this woman is going nuts. And so when things that are really happening get confused with things that are not real in the book, it keeps you in that sense, that state of mind that she's in. Whereas in the movie, keeping it more linear and just relying on the storytelling of cinema to keep things dreamlike, and so you don't really know what's real and what's not. I thought that was a really, it shows how much Mike Flanagan understands the language of cinema as opposed to the language of a book. And it's one of the reasons why,
cleaner.
Yeah, it's much you have to be cleaner by nature of it. If you're doing if you have an hour and a half to tell this, as opposed to it's not his longest book, but it's like 400 pages, I think.
Yeah.
So it's,
and you don't have to rely on as many actors and actresses. You can really focus on the core performances.
Right.
You don't have to worry about like one's weaker or whatever. Like it's just a stronger stance, and it makes it more relatable too. I think of just having it being like, these are the key perspectives. And we're going to keep it a little funky. We're going to keep things moving. We're going to like have a little bit of smoke and mirrors of like, where is she at in this process? But everybody's got a really defined anchor to them.
And is the Moonlight Man real or not?
Oh my God.
Is it in her head or not? In the book, he was called Space Cowboy.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It was a little different how he was presented in the book. He was actually a little bit more scary. And as a character, he wasn't quite, in the movie, he seemed like he was a bit of an idiot. In the book, he was definitely more with it. Kind of like a little bit like Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, where he's nuts.
Oh, interesting. Okay. That's how they.
But yeah, so it was a bit of a different presentation in the movie, but it was fine. They needed to make it, I think, in the scenes, make it feel a little bit more dreamlike and more intimidating. But that gets to a thing I want to talk about later, which is the ending of it all, which is controversial both for the book and for the movie. But I just want to really quickly talk about the flashback scenes because we're talking about keeping things simple. And in the flashbacks, I thought that they were very, like, as opposed to a lot of the extraneous information that you get in Stephen King books, where you have a lot of character development over a bunch of pages that aren't really relevant, but they create a lot of depth. In the movie, and anticipation. Very clean, very straightforward in the flashback scenes. I do have a quick trivia question. Did you guys recognize the actor who played her father?
Of course, Henry Thomas. I know this.
There it is.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Ryan is shaking his head. Ryan, have you ever seen?
Can I give him a clue?
Oh yeah, please.
Ready?
Okay.
Ouch.
Wait, E.T.?
He was the boy in E.T.
As an adult?
That's Elliot.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Flanagan loves him now. He's pretty much in every Flanagan project now, pretty much.
Flanagan.
So. Oh, that's hilarious.
Flanagan loves to use his recurring cast. Carla Gugino's a recurring cast. Obviously, his wife Kate Siegel is in everything that he does, and she's also a massive horror head. She's on a bunch of horror documentaries now as well, and she's brilliant. Brilliant.
She really is. Yeah.
But yeah, he comes back to his same actors a lot. And with good reason. Why? If you have actors this good, why change it?
Right.
Yeah, to be fair.
Okay. So another little bit of trivia. And this is going to some Stephen King trivia. So in the flashback, her father abuses her during an eclipse. Have either of you ever read or seen the movie Dolores Claiborne?
I'm raising my hand.
Never heard of it.
Yes, I have.
Okay.
For those listening at home.
Ryan shockingly has no response. Dan, you have seen the movie or read the book?
I have only seen the movie. I have not read the book.
So in Dolores Claiborne, it's about a woman who was abused by her husband back in the 60s and then is charged with murder in the present time. We won't get into the overall plot, but it's a good book. Written the same year.
It's an excellent
Gerald's
movie
Game.
Too. Excellent movie as well.
Excellent movie with Kathy Bates, Jennifer Jason Leigh. Great movie. But the book was written the same year as Gerald's Game. And actually, the two stories
are connected.
Take place simultaneously. The eclipse in Dolores Claiborne is the same eclipse that takes place in Gerald's Game.
Interesting. I love how Stephen King connects his universes like that.
Across the same lake. Although in Flanagan's movie, they moved the location, but I think actually the lake is the same. But they moved the actual house where she's locked up is in Alabama, whereas in the book it's in Maine. But the actual eclipse that takes place in Dolores Claiborne and in Gerald's game is the same eclipse seen from across the lake from each other.
Interesting.
In those two books.
I heard that there was a third story it was a trilogy, an eclipse trilogy, that the three stories were taking place all at the same time. I might be wrong.
I don't know about that off the top of my head. I do know that Flanagan is definitely, as you said, trying to create the Flaniverse. And he's also tying himself in with Stephen King's universe. There's the line in Gerald's game where she says, "We all serve the beam," or one of her versions says, "We all have to do as the beam wishes," or that line that refers to the beam.
Yeah.
And if you've ever read the Dark Tower series, the beam is a major part of the Dark Tower. It's a massive part of the Stephen King universe.
Okay.
A quick Google search says that there was intended to be a third book in this Eclipse saga where the two of them met each other, but he never actually got around to
There's a few books he did that he could have done that in. Insomnia would have been one he could have. That's one of his like linchpin ones where he pulls a lot of characters together from his different books. It's actually kind of cool and weird to see the way that Stephen King has drawn a lot of his books together over the years into a kind of a shared metaverse. But he does have some smaller books that are connected in fun little ways. And this is one of them. And it's also interesting, just a quick aside for Stephen King, like a little bit of Stephen King trivia. So Stephen King, have you guys read a lot of his books? Ryan, have you read any of his books?
Nope.
I have not read a lot. I've audio listened to a few, and I've only actually physically read one.
I would love to read them. I'll be honest, I'm a little bit intimidated, just because I feel like the books allow your imagination to run a little bit more wild, and I feel like that's almost worse than watching something kind of prescribed to you.
Yes and no, but I also will say that the thing that's safe about his stuff is that a lot of times it's actually more fantasy than horror for most of them. There's
interesting.
There's some that are horror, but it tends to be a lot because he builds things up. Pet Sematary, I think, might be his most like hardcore horror novel. Straight up. Just horrific.
I know Pet Sematary and It are the two that people point to a bunch that are just like they're like hard to keep open.
It is actually, I thought, pretty easy to get through. There's only a couple points that are hard. It just gets very weird. So this is the thing. Stephen King is an interesting cat because he was struggling a lot in the 70s, but put out some of his most famous work like Carrie, Salem's Lot, The Shining, The Stand, in that order, Dead Zone. And then the 80s hit, and he started getting successful, and he put out stuff like Cujo and Running Man and Gunslinger and Christine and Pet Sematary in that order. But of course, Running Man, which I just referenced, was not written by Stephen King originally. It was written by Richard Bachman, which was his alter ego, his pen name. And Richard Bachman also wrote Rage in 1977, Roadwork in 81, I think, and then Thinner in 84. And Stephen King actually ended up becoming a total nut job, cocaine and alcohol addict throughout the 80s. And he was a maniac, and he actually had to get clean. He had an intervention in, I believe, 88 or 89, and went completely cold sober, and then wrote a book called The Dark Half, which is also a really good movie. And it's one of my favorite books of his, but it was his metaphor for killing Richard Bachman, who was his kind of evil alter ego. It was the one where he would get the most insane. He would go on a total cocaine binge and write The Running Man in like a weekend.
Wow.
So coming out of that, the first book he wrote coming out of being a cokehead, alcoholic maniac was Needful Things. And then he did Dolores Claiborne and Gerald's Game in the same year. So this was like, as much as a lot of his books around that time deal with breaking free from addiction, dealing with breaking free from trauma, Gerald's Game absolutely is that. He said, I was chained to the bed. I was being like, the husband was my addiction, right? In the book, like in the movie, the husband's just kind of like, he's a little rapey, he's a very macho, toxic man, but he's not like a bad dude per se. Yeah. In the book, he's actually a drunk, alcoholic, smoking, rapey asshole. In the movie, he kind of like gets a little bit too much into the rape fantasy. And she is like, she bites his lip and says, knock it off. And he stops. He goes, well, I thought you were into it. In the book, he goes, this is part of the fantasy. And he keeps going, knowing that she's not into it. And it gets him off. So that was a big change they made in the movie, was making the husband more sympathetic, because they had to have him be a character for the rest of the movie.
That makes sense. So like you had to be able to at least like listen to him for another hour or so, hour and a half. Yeah.
So but that brings me to the major thing, but that the lack of change, but also the similarity between the ending of the movie and the book. And Flanagan does not change the ending very much at all. The only difference is because he eliminates the college friend character. He has her write the note to her young self at the end, explaining everything with the voiceover. And then she goes and meets the Moonlight Man, who turns out to be real, in court. And instead of spitting in his face, as she does in the book, she says, "You look so much smaller than I remember," and feels all good about herself and walks out, puts her glasses on, and I am strong, and walks away. What did you guys think of the ending? And would you have changed it at all? Did it work for you? What did you think about it?
I think, okay, but before I jump into that, let me jump back into the Moonlight Man, because I'm curious what you guys think of it. I thought that the Moonlight Man was very effective, at least during the viewing for me. I love the way that he was kind of tucked away in the darkness and hidden for a little bit in the first introduction until she finally showed him. I found it very frightening that he was just kind of there and moved a little bit closer. The casting was perfect, I thought. So I think that the Moonlight Man was effective in that use. Now, was the ending as effective? I think it was it felt a little bit too dreamlike. Because I think most of the film started to feel like a fever dream, because you had to feel like her brain was probably feeling like he really wanted to put you in the feeling of what it would be like to be just kind of chained to that bed, and everything's like, what I'm seeing real is what I'm hearing real. But
it wasn't a clean enough break back to reality.
It wasn't. That's what I felt like. I felt like it needed to be a little bit more cleaner. I think a spit in the face definitely feels more real. I don't think it would have fit the movie. I think the change is better, but the breaking of the chains was definitely a metaphor. Like the fact that like he so easily broke handcuffs, and she spent a whole movie like figuring out how to even get out of handcuffs, of course, is like, okay, you're telling me something there, Mike Flanagan. And then she walks out, puts her sunglasses on, and walks into a sun that's not an eclipse, like she's breaking free of her,
Did you catch that last sun is actually partially an eclipse?
Oh, is it? I didn't realize that. I thought
you can see at the so basically they do this thing where it's the end of, you can see the moon, the shadow of the moon actually moving out of the sun on the right.
Oh, so that's cool. So it's kind of like when
the eclipse is finally ending.
Yeah, which is kind of the eclipse of her life, dealing with the trauma of first her father, then marrying a person that's kind of basically she basically marries this abusive guy like her father, and then is then at the whim of another man that abuses women, a serial killer. So
controlling men,
right? So I think dominating. I think that it should have been a little bit more grounded in reality, just to help pull it back into that, to make it really feel earned. But I was cheering. I was happy for her. I was cheering for her at the end. So I thought it was a pretty decent ending.
So wait, hold on. What about you, Ryan? Now, obviously, you are our newbie to horror films. How did the Moonlight Man work for you? How did the ending work for you?
I'm going to disagree with you, Dan.
All right.
'Cause here's the deal. I really enjoyed 80 to 90% of this movie. I thought the psychological angle was cool. I thought the Moonlight Man was cool. I thought it was really well done. I liked at first I thought he was just a metaphor representation of her image of death, and like the mementos that he's picking up. I thought I loved that angle. I loved the projections of her ideologies, and outside of obviously the money scene that we were talking about earlier, the eclipse scene's brutal. It's really hard to watch. It's really uncomfortable.
And they show nothing. They show absolutely nothing except for her face and his face.
But it's very tense, and it's viscerally uncomfortable to watch. And in general, I thought that the whole movie was so well done. And then I think it's 10 minutes too long. I think the minute we cut to her writing the letter, and granted, I will give it this. I think that it's good that she met the Moonlight Man. I think having the Moonlight Man be real, I think having that confrontation is all very good, and does have it put a good bow on the story. I think that that's necessary. But I think that the last 10 minutes, personally, at least for me, just felt so disjointed from the rest of it felt like a whole different section. It felt like some weird epilogue, bonus feature of not even really that it was a dream sequence. It felt so on the nose to me. Like meeting the Moonlight Man was cool and like is a really necessary part of her development as a character. But to like what you guys said, like her being like, you're so much smaller than I remember. It's like, cool, female empowerment. That's a cool line, but it feels out of place. The fact that she walks outside and it's like this very surreal street. No one's on it. You get this like the eclipse is ending and the sun's right in the middle of the sky. It's like, this feels cheesy and it undermines everything we've done for the last 2 hours personally for me. Like I thought that the psychological journey that she goes on was so cool. That then to end it with what felt like kind of this cheesy, like smile, wink, and nod of like, hey, don't worry, everything's sunny, good, and she's through it. Woohoo! Felt like almost condescending in a way of like, hey, by the way, that's the movie. Enjoy.
And how does that vary to the book? Like, how is the book like
almost not at
realistic?
All.
Okay.
No, it's actually a very similar ending to the book. And Flanagan in an interview actually was asked, why do the exact same ending as the book, which got those exact criticisms that Ryan just said, was that it was too on the nose. It was too pat. It was a little, maybe even a little patronizing. And Flanagan said, why? Well, I'm doing a Stephen King book. Why wouldn't I do what Stephen King wrote? Which to me actually begs the question. You brought him up earlier. The Mist, right?
Yeah.
This is not the only person who's ever done Stephen King before. Frank Darabont has done Stephen King books and absolutely changed the endings. And The Mist is probably the most famous example of that, where he completely wrote a new ending. In the short story of The Mist, it's just an open end. They go off and just keep wandering. And the movie I won't spoil it because Ryan's sitting here and at some point he'll probably have to watch it. But it's a very different ending to that.
Very different.
But it's a famous ending. Yeah, it's a famous, and Stephen King even said, because he was working with Darabont on the movie, and he said, fuck, I wish I'd thought of that ending. It's so much better. Stephen King is not good at endings. He's openly admitted this. And this is a perfect example of that. And Ryan, you elucidated perfectly all the reasons why it's not a good ending. It feels
sorry, go ahead.
It feels insulting. It feels like, okay, yeah, all right, we get it. There's ways and there's horror endings to films that I enjoy better that specifically don't put a bow on it. Because to putting a bow on it like this, I think undoes a lot of the journey that we've all been on together, especially in this case with this woman. It negates it because it makes it seem like there's this happy, rosy outside, and we've just been told this entire movie it's not true. We don't need to have extra knowledge of the ways that she's breaking free and being told again how she's breaking free when the big moment of this movie is her ripping her hand half off to get out of freaking handcuffs. That's getting out of trauma right there. You don't need to go face your trauma in court afterwards to kind of drive the point home. We've seen it. We've lived through the worst of it. She could have had another way of confronting the Moonlight Man in the car as she's driving away. There could have been a subtle moment of her seeing him in a crowd and not knowing if he's real or not. Keep it ambiguous. Keep what happens to her afterwards ambiguous. Give us the impression that she's moving beyond it because she has broken free from it. But all of the on the nose ways the movie tells us that at the end, and the book told us that at the end, to me, it seems gratuitous.
Well, honestly, even just the fact that, like, because I don't mind how they ended the one thing I think in the ending that I actually am cool with is the way they did the Moonlight Man. I think the Moonlight Man is pretty well done throughout, other than I do think that, like, her parting words feel a little cheesy.
Well, wait, hold on. They are a little cheesy. I agree. That one-liner kills me. But you don't think that it was a little bit like an exposition dump? Like it was. It's like a minute straight of having to explain who he actually is just to give it context. It's like it's too much.
But I think the part is, at least for me, I think that I liked the fact that they hinted that she was, because to kind of our point earlier, the ending in and of itself undermines a lot of her trauma, and they like have this whole like she works with her trauma and she works with kids and they like make it better. But having the eclipse moment, having all the stuff, having her write the letter almost puts a seal on all that trauma, like, hey, and she doesn't really have to deal with this anymore.
Right, exactly.
And now it's just a healthy coping mechanism. But then they do have the trauma of like, but I still don't know about the Moonlight Man. Like, the Moonlight Man still haunts me. And I think that like having the Moonlight Man still haunt her and then being confirmed to be a real person that actually existed and it wasn't in her imagination is a cool ad. And I think that nugget just in and of itself existing as that way is a good thing to have in the ending of like, I would still see him before I went to bed. He still haunted my visions. I still didn't know. And then eventually I found out and it was a real person. And like being able to kind of eventually allow her that final piece, I guess, is fine and I think feels good. But undermining the trauma of the eclipse and making it seem like it's basically like, and now it's done. And then all of the court stuff and the cheese of the eclipse.
I agree. I agree in a sense, like
me.
saying that the Moonlight Man being real is a metaphor for confirming your trauma is real. Like saying, yes, hey, what you saw, what you felt is real. You're not crazy. I get that, but I feel like it goes too far. And I
maybe
I think the thing that you said that I agree with the most is it's too on the nose.
Yeah, it does. The whole ending feels very on the nose. And I think, honestly, to your point of changing, like, if you already have changed a bunch of, you've cut characters, you've changed the location of the lake, which ties into another actual book. Like, you can't say, well, why would I change the ending? You changed a bunch of stuff. Like, you can't just draw a line in the sand and be like, well, I changed this is fine, but that's too much change.
I'd say he changed the other things about as much as he changed the ending, where he tweaks things to make it work better for a film. But yeah, I think that there's a lot with the ending that could have been made better. And especially, again, and I'm going to keep holding this up, but the ending of The Mist, you know, if you want to totally change the ending of a story because it makes it better, do it. Do it. It's totally fine to do. But all right, so that brings us to the time on the show where we have to do something that's going to be very difficult for this particular movie. And that is discussing why someone died. What dumb thing did they do that caused them to expire prematurely? And in Gerald's game, we have a grand total of one person who died.
I was going to say.
That's it. Just one person died. That's
all
it.
right. So can we find three different reasons why the husband died? What are the three dumb things?
I think we can, actually.
I think we
can.
He's got a few different reasons. All right. 3 reasons why her jerk husband, played by the glorious Bruce Greenwood, why did he die?
Honestly, I'll go last because I think I have a couple reasons here that all could play. So I'll let you guys take some, and then I'll fill in the third.
If I go first, I'll just be the most straightforward. He shouldn't have taken a little blue pill. No little blue pill, no heart attack.
It's actually funny because you stole mine in a way. Because no, and really, I was actually going to say because you decided to sexually assault your wife in 2017, as opposed to 1992 when the book was written, because in 92 there was no Viagra. He died in the book. He died minus the Viagra, and she actually, like, you know, more aggressively fought him. Whereas in the movie, you're like, oh yeah, the heart attack. You know, he was already kind of had a bad ticker, but then he popped the Viagra, and that's what really did it. That's what really got him.
So you're saying that in the book, did she put up more of a fight, and then her kind of physical fighting is what led to his heart attack?
She kicks him really gnarly in the down low.
Oh,
and that's and then he falls and hits his head and like smashes his head open, and he's a while dying in the book. You know how in the movie he hits his head on the floor and he's bleeding?
Yes,
he does that in the book, but that's what really finishes him
off. Oh, see, so that, I mean, I honestly, like, sorry to get, we're kind of jumping back into our discussing the movie as opposed to why someone died, but it's interesting that he made that change because that, like, Mike Flanagan then made the choice to make her completely innocent in the whole thing.
Yes.
Because in the book that puts a little bit of blame on her, like she's pushing back, she's causing some sort of physical push to lead.
There's a guilt there.
Right. But the husband was also being more aggressive and scarier.
Yeah.
Like he was more of an asshole.
There's more aggression on both sides, which, you know, is very different from what
it's
Flanagan
much more violent.
did.
It's much more violent in the book. And in the movie, it's I'm not going to say it's more passive, but it's certainly more, it seems more like an accident in the movie.
Right. It's actually, that makes it even more dreadful and frightening in Flanagan's version, because you're in Stephen King's, it's much more violent. He's making it a little bit more niche and like a very like abusive and overly abusive relationship. Whereas in this one, you know, there is definitely some abuse occurring or like some belittlement that you see. You learn more later in the movie, but at that point, I mean, honestly, it's just a dude that has a heart attack and this woman's stuck. It's like this could happen like to anybody, you know.
Yeah,
and that's
you get
what
the
makes
impression,
it immediately frightening.
Like some of her, you know, some of the dialogue where she, you know, he reveals the joke that she overheard that was so, you know, that was pretty bad, and it obviously stuck with her. She's like, "Is that really who you are? That you would say that kind of joke to your friends about women? Like, that's kind of gross." But even that, like, you still come away with in the movie with like, he wasn't like a bad guy.
Yeah,
he wasn't really a good guy. He was kind of a dick, right?
Well, they keep it ambiguous of like, were you saying, like, she even projects it onto him of like, were you saying that to get a client, or is that actually how you feel?
Right.
Like, and they play into like the how well do we know each other angle.
Whereas in the book, he's a dick. Like, yes, he meant. Yeah. If he said that joke, he absolutely meant it. He is abusive to her. And
also, for clarity, not to defend any jokes like that or make excuses for jokes like that in any way. I don't want to be misinterpreted by listeners here. Like, hold on.
Next week, just me and Dan on the show, Ryan.
Yeah, no show.
No, okay. So we agree.
It's
we
been
agree.
fun.
He died. The blue pill. The blue.
Absolutely.
Dan says the blue pill. I say the era in which the movie was made. Ryan, why did Bruce Greenwood die?
I'm going to say getting worked up into a fight with your wife while you're like running high octane for multiple reasons.
No sex fighting, you're saying.
Fighting well on the pill and sexed up and having blood in other extremities. Then amplifying your emotions and being like, well, maybe I won't do this. Maybe I will. And getting in the fight rather than just like talking it out.
So the blood flow issue. The
blood flow issue and the heightened emotions, I'm going to say, of...
don't fight. Doesn't matter if your wife has been handcuffed to 2 posts of the Oculus mirror, which, by the way, that's what the headboard is, by the way.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah. The headboard is part of the Oculus mirror. It's the frame. Yeah,
that's incredible.
The Flaniverse, baby. The Flaniverse.
He knows.
While your wife is handcuffed to that, it doesn't matter if she's handcuffed to that. Don't fight with her.
Yeah, or just honestly let her out of the handcuffs so that she could like more reactively help you, like have the discussion.
Yeah. What?
Like,
wait, hold on.
Listen to her when she's like, "Hey, let me out first."
Y'all have Kobe steaks from Kobe. You're mad about her giving them to the stray dog. Why are you the first thing you get to this cabin? You're there for 2 hours and it's sexy time. Get the steak. Have the steak first. What are you doing?
Like,
yes,
nutrients in
I understand your wife is. It's extra. But you see the size of those things?
Yeah, I think she even quotes how much it is in the book. She's like, "Those $600
those are
fillet."
Yeah, he says, yeah.
Those are not cheap steaks. Like, yes, your wife is Carla Gugino. And you're alone in a cabin. I understand. I sympathize. I empathize. But if you need a Viagra to get with Carla Gugino, go eat the damn steak.
Well, also, why did he leave the door open? Like, I understand he has to for the dog, but like, literally they like linger on the door, and I'm like, why the fuck are they leaving the door open to their cabin? What the hell? He's
married to Carla Gugino, and he's about to go get some happy time with her. Of course, he's not paying attention to the door.
You're about to go have sex with your lovely wife. You don't want shut the door, dude. Like the front door.
I think it's been established that he's not a guy who pays attention to things very well. He's not going to pay.
Clearly,
he's married to Carla Gugino. He can't pay attention to her. She's feeling like she's left out of everything. He's not going to think about a door.
That's true. He's not thinking about doors at all.
It's silly, ridiculous. It's
very silly.
That's why he deserved to die.
True.
Yes, correct.
This is not why you died. It's why you deserved.
A beautiful wife that he didn't pay attention to, and he spent way too much on Kobe beef that just went to a stray dog.
Yep.
Well, that's on her. He should have been like, let's go inside and cook the rest.
True.
If you're going to give this away, if you're going to be the kind of person that's going to give this Kobe away, let's cook this shit now and eat it before you give any more away to the stray dog.
Well, the dog ate most of him, so he was good to go.
That's very true. The dog was not
both.
Right. How expensive was he? He was a high-priced lawyer. He's probably more expensive.
Had they eaten the steak first, he would have gotten the steak twice.
That's right. That would have been better for the dog. Although, as you notice, that's why his ears are missing because the Moonlight Man took them.
Oh yeah,
the dog didn't eat those.
So good, so
all
good.
Right, all right. Nice so we're at that time of the show. We've got to give the Scully Awards 1 to 10. Ryan, you're the newbie on this one. I read the book. Dan saw the movie already. So you're brand new to Gerald's game. 1 to 10 Scullys. What do you give it?
I'm going to be honest, guys. I have to give it a 5.
Okay.
Whoa.
Pretty low.
The ending.
Oh, wow. The ending hurt it that much for you.
The ending, literally, it would have been like an 8.
It's
but
cold
that last
as ice.
10 minutes, that last 10 minutes undermined so much of the movie that like I really, especially like, I know we kind of touched on the Moonlight Man. I thought the Moonlight Man was really well done. Specifically that driving sequence where she's falling asleep and he says mouse in her ear.
So
that
creepy.
whole sequence was so cool and so well done. And like the psychological elements were so like well crafted. I was really enjoying it. And then the ending just spit in my face instead. And I was sad. And so I can't even give it a pass, dude. It does, as you guys said in an earlier episode, it didn't land the plane.
No.
It had a great flight and then it crashed.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
That's
5 skulls.
That's surprising. Brutal. That is really brutal.
I'll go second actually to pile onto that, because I also felt like the ending really trashed the movie. And I'm normally a guy who will trash a movie if the ending doesn't land the plane. But this is the rare occasion where I think that I can forgive the ending because I think it was well intentioned. And the rest of the movie was so good. Carla Gugino was so good in the rest of this movie.
It's true.
That I can forgive the very kind of pat on the nose ending, and I'm going to give it 8. Wow. 8 Scullys from me.
Okay. Well, I was going to go there too, but I like it more, so I'll go 9. And the reason why I won't give it a full perfect 10 is definitely I don't disagree that the ending was weak. But I still think that I appreciated what. I guess like what he was trying to do. And here's a little conspiracy theory, because a quote that you just said that Mike Flanagan said was like, is that, well, Stephen King wrote it. Why would I change it? And here's my theory is that, Stephen King famously hates the original Shining because he hates what Kubrick did to his book, basically kind of butchered the book, made his own thing with it. And I think that Flanagan is such a King fan and has had the dream to adapt as much King work as he can, especially leading up to The Dark Tower, that I think that this was his step to prove to Stephen King, hey, I'm going to treat your work like your babies as I would my own, and I'm going to do it fairly, and I'm going to do it faithfully, so that you can trust me to then move on. And he did Dr. Sleep after this, which is like the sequel to The Shining. And he did a brilliant mix of taking the Kubrick world with the Stephen King world and making an excellent sequel to The Shining, in my opinion.
Both Shinings. He made an excellent sequel to both Shinings.
And there's 2 Shinings?
There's the book and the movie, yeah.
Right. And
there's a mini series that's more faithful to the book, I guess you could say, yeah.
But yeah, so he adapted the sequel that Stephen King wrote, but he did it very expertly. And I think that Gerald's Game was kind of it was a test to Netflix to show, hey, look I can make some really cool movies for you, and to Stephen King, like, hey, I'm going to start with this book that said that people said is not adaptable for screen. You can't do it. And look, I pulled it off. Expertly. And so because that ending is a little too fantastical for me, that's what knocks it off. And I'll just say a 9, but it's way up there for me.
9's impressive.
That's fair, man.
I'll be honest.
That's fair. It is a solid movie. It's well worth a watch. If you're listening and you haven't watched it, well, it's all been spoiled for you now. But but you should still go watch it, because it is very.
That was on you. We gave the warning.
We did.
That was your decision.
We
told
tried.
Him to stop it. We said stop, watch, come back.
But it's still worth a watch.
Gave a pause.
Even though you know everything that happens in the movie now, it's still worth a watch. Carla Gugino is absolutely amazing in Gerald's Game. It's an incredible flick. Definitely worth checking out on Netflix. It was made for Netflix. It is still on there to this day. Worth checking out. But that's it, boys. We're going to wrap up this show. Any final words before we head towards the door tonight?
I'm going to say, I'm going to give a quick shout out to the makeup department as well on her, because having her mental vision that next to herself in her distraught state, like she looked like 2 different women. Really, they did a great job, really like visualizing her distress and her survival state. compared to like her done up makeup version of herself.
Well, also I was exhausted. I was exhausted watching her in this movie. Like as an actor, I just was thinking about her prep for some of those later scenes in the bed, and just I got God, you had to do how many takes of those scenes?
The attention to detail of like what physically happens to your wrist for not moving them for that period of time.
Legs.
Like the way that the legs and just dealing with that was just, that was really well done. I want to shout out the editing and the sound design. Both working hand in hand, brilliantly made this work together. And again, like the decision to have her talking to herself, and the way that they cut in audio of like, like she would finish sentences with herself and her projections of herself. It was just, that made it so digestible of what was going on and so watchable and really brilliantly done. So I just want to call that out.
Well, and I'm going to say really quickly as well that Flanagan edits his own movies.
Look at that guy.
That's pretty awesome. That being said, before we get out of here, Dan, you have run out of prompts, so you need to draw one right now so we can find out what we're going to do next time.
So let's remind people what prompts are currently live right now.
I believe it's just mine, which is mystery.
No, we've got two. You've got mystery.
Oh, that's right.
And
you
I've
have.
I was gonna say I have Slasher.
That's so good.
Which I stole from. I'm sure either of you would love Slasher, but it's mine. I picked it.
Okay, here we go. Let's see what I'm gonna get next one. Let's feel it out. All right, I got one. Ready, boys?
Don't say feel it out after we talk about the gloving scene.
Oh, this is weird. This is weird. This is interesting. I'm really gonna have to think about this. Ready? Happiness.
Ooh.
Happiness in a horror movie.
I love how like open-ended we made the prompt. It feels really cool to like just see like, oh, those we could go so broad or it could be so niche. I really enjoy the prompt.
Man, happiness. I really got to think about that one. That's interesting.
But before we go, the holidays are coming up, and we had a fun little idea that I think that we should share with everybody before we call it for today.
We did.
I don't think that we can let Christmas time go by without seeing some bloodshed, because I think horror and the holidays go well together so much. So I think we need to watch a special movie. So what are we going to watch?
Well, I think we should watch something really fun and something that maybe a lot of people haven't seen. I'd love to do a bonus episode for the holidays, a special holiday gift to all of our new listeners. So guys, what do you say that we all watch a very special holiday movie called Rare Exports and then give everyone a surprise bonus episode in the middle of December? What do you think?
I love it. I have not seen this movie. I've heard about this, so I'm excited to watch this.
I mean, I'm down. I'm all for a holiday special, and I trust your guys' judgment because I don't know what holiday movie we would watch. So if you guys say this is the one, then great.
I say this is the one. It's put in stone. We are going to throw out a special bonus holiday episode for you guys. So please keep an eye on whatever notifications you have for our show. Keep an eye on it because it's going to be coming out sometime in the middle of December. So if you are listening to our show right now on this episode, maybe in the next week, you're going to have a special extra episode in your inbox. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit the like. Make sure you tell everyone else it's coming, because it is coming. We're going to do Rare Exports. So check out Rare Exports before we talk about it, because as always, we're going to spoil the crap out of it.
And happy early holidays to all of you, and thank you for listening.
Thank you, everybody.
Amen. And to all a good night. All right, boys. Well, that's going to do it for this show. Coming up on our next episode is going to be my pick for mystery. And I'm going to tell you right now that movie will be Angel Heart. Yeah, Angel Heart with Robert De Niro, Mickey Rourke. So if you want to check that movie out, please go watch it now. Come back and catch us on the next episode of This Is Why You Died. We're going to say goodbye for now. For Ryan Ross live, for Daniel Marcha Madness, I am Sir Ian Dangerous. Thank you so much for joining us. We will see you next time right here on
This Is Why You